Good morning and welcome to Doing Life with Itzy on a Bitsy Budget. Today we're going to be in the kitchen making buttercream icing. It's Jennifer's favorite, and so her request is that I show you how to make it, and her too. We're going to use an easy recipe. It's oh so delicious, and it only takes a few minutes. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so we're in the kitchen now and we're going to start making our buttercream icing. I've laid out a few things ahead of time so that you could see exactly how I prepare the cakes, etc. I made the cakes yesterday, just a very small 2-layer cake. A lot of times I do a 3-layer cake, but today we're going to work with a 2-layer cake. So what I do if I make these cakes the day before is I wrap them up because it keeps them very moist overnight and they're easier to work with. A lot of people put them in the refrigerator, but I don't actually like cold cake. So I always just leave them out to be room temperature. If you notice on this one, we've got a hump. We're going to cut that off. And this layer is a little lower than this. Now, if I was making this for a professional reason, it would all be straight and I would use a different technique. But just doing something for your house or a dessert, a dinner party, you don't have to worry about that because it's going to look great when we're done. Now we're going to go over the ingredients that we're going to be using to make the frosting or icing. We've got vanilla, whole milk, a couple of decorating tips. We've got a 2-pound bag of powdered sugar, my trusted old recipe. Crisco, a whole block. Salted butter, 2 sticks. And then I have my storage containers here for tips and things. This is what I keep them in. It's just 2 tins. They work great. I'll go ahead and put on my apron because we all know how messy I am in the kitchen. It's ridiculous. My cousin Sandy made me this apron and it's very easy. The back is short, so if you have to run to the bathroom, you've got no problems there. Okay, let's get started. The first thing we're going to do is get our cakes ready for the icing, and I'm going to go ahead and trim this cake. I just use a knife. You can choose any knife. A serrated edge is better. And I just go straight across here and get it kind of even. And of course I'll decorate that at the end, just in case I'm desperate for something sweet while I'm making the cake or waiting to actually use it. Alright, I'll get the ingredients. In your mixer, you're going to start off by putting your butter in. We need 2 sticks. And like I said, this is salted butter. There are some people that use unsalted butter and add salt, but I think it's just as easy and just as good to do it this way. Again, we're going to take the easy route, so this makes it a little faster. I'll put my butter in. One more. Then we're also going to add our shortening. And this is 1 cup is equal to 1 of these. Now you can just measure it out. You only need a cup and dump that in. This is just pre-measured and makes it easy. I started off with a paddle attachment. The reason I use this paddle attachment in the beginning is it seems to mix things like butter a little better and easier. And we're going to be mixing this for a few minutes, so I'll come back to you because we need to get it good and soft. We want to start out with that soft butter. Okay, here we go. I've creamed the butter and the Crisco. You can come look in the bowl and you can see it's just good and creamy. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to add some of the sugar in intervals. Let me cut the bag open. This is a 2-pound bag, so again, I don't even have to measure. I always double my recipe so that I have enough to decorate. All right. I'll pour this in, about a half a bag. And then I'll just start off slow. We'll mix for just a minute and we'll come back. I've got the first part of my sugar in, and I wanted to show you that I'm going to take my spatula and go around the bowl, kick that in, and just wipe it off. And then I'm going to add a little bit of milk at this time because This recipe is going to call for tablespoons of milk, and we're going to use 4. Sometimes you might have to add a little more if yours is for some reason a little stiff. But I just have this old Badcock cup. My parents had a Badcock store, and I've used it, but you just need to have something with some tablespoon measurements. So we're going to put 4 in here for now, and I'm just going to pour some of it in, not all 4. So I'll pour about 2. And then I'll add the rest of the sugar, and then I'm going to mix again. Okay, at this point I've just mixed for about another minute. You can see it's a little bit stiff. So I'm going to add to this, put this back in, the rest of the milk and 2 teaspoons of vanilla because I've doubled the recipe. Now you can, if you wanted the icing to be pure white, again, you would use the clear vanilla, and you always want to use pure vanilla, whichever way you go. So that's added in. I'll mix again and we'll come back. Okay, I'm finished mixing the icing. I'm going to show you how to ice in the cake real quick, and I'll do some basic decoration on it. So it's a good consistency. It's not too thick. If you wanted it a little thinner, you just add more milk. I like it just like this. All right, I'm going to take my pastry bag here. This just has no tip on it. It's just a simple, you could even do it with nothing on it at all, really. But if you wanted to change out later, then you can on this particular bag. So you're going to put your icing in any bag. They make throwaway bags. You can get them at Michael's, Joann's, Hobby Lobby, anywhere that sells cake decorating things. Probably the grocery store nowadays. And the reason you need this, excuse me, is when you put the cake together, you've got to put your icing thick enough where it won't move around. And it hides the imperfection. So I will put my first layer, which will always be my biggest, down. Then I'll take and I'll make a thick dome. The reason I do this is so that it can squeeze out and it'll be in between. Just plop it on there. It'll go where it needs to go when you push it down. And then you can just put some in the middle like this. It's very simple. Take your spatula. This is what I ice in every cake with, not unless I'm doing a real big cake, and sometimes I do 3 or 4 layers. Then I use a bigger one. But I just take this and I push it around. That's all you need to do. If you need to add some, you can just throw a little glob in there. It doesn't have to be perfect. What it has to be is even. So this is where you use your icing, and you're eyeballing it for this cake. You know, this isn't a wedding cake or anything we're doing. So it's even, or near about. So I'm going to take the next layer, and I'm going to put it on. Simple. Then I just take a few globs, that's how I do it. And I do a quick layer around the top part. The reason I do it like this is sometimes these layers, and I don't know why, one is bigger than the other, thicker than the other. So you might have it a little off kilter. Even though I'm using the same size pans, if you don't have the exact amount of cake batter measured out, you can get a little different size. So I did the quick way, just like you all would be doing at home. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to make the sides equal.
Oh my gosh, can't wait to eat this.
And you do a thin layer to start with. And then we're going to, after I get this on, we're going to wait a few minutes. So we'll have to come back to you again. I appreciate y'all staying with me through all of my stops this time. So I just get it on. Like I said, you can kind of see through it on the side. That doesn't matter. After a few minutes, it's going to harden, and I'm going to put a little more icing on it. And then I'm going to let it harden again, and we're going to decorate it real quick. I like to push my edges up into the middle. And again, the main thing is level it out. And I'm going to show you a trick. I put these here for a reason, and I'm going to show you how to make it look really good. All right, let's let this sit. We'll start back in just a few minutes. Now that we've let this sit for a little while, I have added a little bit more ice into the side. The main object is just don't let your cake be icing too thin, or you'll see the cake through it. So you want to make sure the cake is completely covered. Now, a trick I have, a lot of people use, I think it's Viva paper towels, but I have these old rags, and that's what I use, is I sit this on top of the cake, because we're not doing fondant or anything, but it makes it look a little nicer. And I just start giving it a little rub like this. I do the top first. And you can see how nice and even that is. Then if I want to do a little bit more over here, I'll just set it down and see how it disappears. I'm going to go ahead and do the whole cake, and then we'll come right back. Now that I've finished patting the cake, I just got it looking a little nicer so that the decorations will look good on it. If you had another spot like this one right here, you just take it, put it on, and lightly go over it, and it disappears. All right, I want to tell you something about using your cloth. When you look for a cloth to use, you want very tight woven and no indentations. It has to be a solid, straight cloth. We're going to go ahead and put some food coloring in the leftover icing. Now, if I was doing several different colors, I would put this in a bowl. But since I'm just going to use one color today, I'm just going to mix it up in my regular bowl. I chose pink, and what you can always do is make your icing darker. So don't worry about that. Start off with just a little smidgen. What I do is I poke a hole in my coloring, which is a paste coloring is what I choose. You can get it at any of the places like Michael's, Joann's, Hobby Lobby, Walmart. And then I just take this toothpick and I run it through the icing. So you can see it's in there. Now I'll have to get a new toothpick so I don't get anything in my bottle if I want it a little darker. At this point I change to this type of wispy attachment, and I'll mix this up and we'll look at it again. This is the color we got with just that little tiny bit. So you can see I prefer for this cake a very light pink. So I'll go ahead and take this off, and then I'll stir it up a little bit in here with the white that's left on the sides. Get it mixed in. A lot of times I don't mind like if there's a spot of white that comes out in my icing, so I'm not real worried about it being exactly in there. Then I'm going to use my pastry bag. Let me see which number tip I like. This one is a good all-around tip, and there's no number on it, but let me show you what it looks like up close. I use this one for butter and most of my cake decorating when it's just for a dinner party or something. All you would do is put that in. I've cut my bag for this size, and I turn it inside out and put my hand under it. I may have to, this isn't a real big bag, but that's what I like working with. You might have to fill a bag a few times, but you put your icing in there, about half full, I'd say. And it gets messy. And then you just kind of put it down. Then you can open this up and get a little burp out of air. And sometimes you'll hit some. And then you can just get it going over there. So, when I decorate a cake like this, I will, let me just wipe off around the edges a little bit. But it's going to disappear because I'm going to put a bottom on it. If you think about cake decorating, you think about it looking almost like you would a picture. A picture without a frame looks one way. If you just put an edge on it, it looks really pretty. So what we're gonna do is a simple thing. We're just gonna take this, we're gonna start with a dot, and we're gonna go up and do another dot. So you're gonna do like an S, and you're gonna go all the way around. See, you get the hang of it. And practice makes perfect, and it doesn't have to be perfect. Some of you want probably a professional look, but you can do this yourself, and everybody's gonna think you went out and bought a beautiful cake. And then you just end it right there. Now, I like it on the top. You see how quick that was? Didn't take me 1 minute to do it. So sometimes I'll do one and go like that, and then continue on the top. I'll have to get some more ice in just a second. You can kind of eyeball it. Again, it doesn't have to be perfect. You know, you're not selling this cake. You're simply going to have it for your dinner party or just for your house. Hold on, let me get a little bit more ice in it. I'll finish it up. I added more ice in. Sometimes now I may want something on the edge. This looks pretty good, just like that. But I'll go ahead and show you what I'm going to do here. So you just continue around. Whatever design you choose to use is gonna look good. And it doesn't even have to be the same. Okay, so that's how I'd leave this cake. Simple, it looks very beautiful, and it literally, to decorate that cake, took a few minutes. That's it. Okay, thank you for being with me today. Please remember to like, subscribe, and share to all your friends, and we'll see you next time.